Hi dear students. So in this session, let's see the difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. A prokaryote is a single-celled organism that lacks a membrane-bound nucleus or any other membrane-bound organelles. The word prokaryote comes from the Greek word pro means before and karyon means nut. Eukaryotes belong to the taxon Eukaryota. The defining feature that sets eukaryotic cells apart from prokaryotic cells is that they have membrane-bound organelles, especially the nucleus, which contains the genetic material and is enclosed by the nuclear envelope. The presence of a nucleus gives eukaryotes their name, which comes from the Greek word eu means bell and karyon means nut. Eukaryotic cells also contain other membrane-bound organelles such as mitochondria and the Golgi apparatus. Before going to the major difference between the prokaryotes and eukaryotes, let's see the similarities between them. Their cellular contents are limited by plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is composed of lipid bilayer with intermediate proteins. DNA is the genetic information carrier in both the groups. Chemical composition of nucleic acids and their organization are similar in both the groups. Process of transcription, translation, and DNA replication occurs in both prokaryotes and eukaryotes. And the ATP is produced by the use of proton gradient. Photosynthesis is similar in both prokaryotes and the eukaryotes, that is in blue-green algae and in the plants. The photosynthesis consists of two processes, the light-dependent light reaction and light-independent dark reaction. Proteosomes are with similar structures and working in both groups. Now let's see the major difference between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. As mentioned before, the term pro means pre or before and eu means true and karyon means nucleus or nut. Prokaryotes originated about 3.5 billion years ago and eukaryotes originated about 1.2 billion years ago. They are the primitive forms. The prokaryotes are the primitive forms, whereas the eukaryotes are the advanced forms. Prokaryotes are usually unicellular organization, whereas eukaryotes are multicellular organization. In prokaryotes, the nucleus is nearly absent, whereas in eukaryotes, true nucleus is present. The size of the prokaryotes is usually small, it is between 1 to 2 micrometer, and eukaryotes, it's large, usually 5 to 100 micrometer, sometimes very large and sometimes they are macroscopic. Membrane-bound organelles such as nucleus, mitochondria, Golgi bodies, chloroplast, lysosome, peroxisomes, endoplasmic reticulum are absent in prokaryotes, whereas these systems are present in eukaryotes. Majority of the organelles have single or double membrane system in eukaryotes. In prokaryotes, the genetic material consists of single chromosome, whereas in eukaryote usually consists of more than one chromosomes. Genetic material is freely distributed in the central portion of the cell called nucleoplasm in prokaryotes. It is located in the nucleus for the eukaryotes. Chromosome with covalently closed circular DNA is present in the prokaryotes, whereas chromosome with linear DNA is present in the eukaryotes. In prokaryotes, cell division is by fission or budding. The mitosis and meiosis is completely absent, whereas in eukaryotes, cell division occurs by mitosis and meiosis. Nucleolus is absent in prokaryotes. A well-developed nucleolus is present in eukaryotes. Ribosome is 70S type and the ribosomes in eukaryotes are 80S type. There are two subunits of ribosomes present in the eukaryotes. They are 50s large subunit and 30s small subunit. In the case of eukaryotes, the two subunits are 60s larger subunit and 40s smaller subunit. DNA is naked and not associated with histone proteins in prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes, DNA is wrapped around histone proteins. In prokaryotes, endoplasmic reticulum is absent. Hence, the ribosomes, which is responsible for the protein synthesis, is freely distributed in the cytoplasm, whereas in eukaryotes, since endoplasmic reticulum is present, protein synthesizing ribosome is usually attached to endoplasmic reticulum. In prokaryotes, internal membrane system is very scarce. If it is present, it is associated with respiration and photosynthesis. Whereas in eukaryotes, the internal membrane system is well developed and the cell organelles are surrounded by single or double membranes. In prokaryotes, the flagella which is used for the locomotion is of simple organization, whereas in eukaryotes, the flagella, if it is present, is very complex with 9+2 arrangements of microtubules. The microtubules is absent in flagella, whereas the microtubules is present in flagella of eukaryotes. Microtubules are polymers and it is part of the cytoskeleton and it provides structure and shape to the eukaryotic cells. So the microtubules are only present in the eukaryotes. In prokaryotes, you can see flagella extracellular and not enclosed by cell surface membrane, whereas in eukaryotes, the flagella is intracellular and surrounded by cell surface membranes. Cell wall is composed of mucopolysaccharides in prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryote, the cell wall is composed of cellulose in case of plants, chitin in case of fungi, and the cell wall is absent in animal cells. The organisms are usually haploid and contain only a single copy of genome in prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes, the organism usually diploid and very rarely its polyploids contain two copies of genome, one from each parent. Plasmid, the extra chromosomal genetic material, is usually present in prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes, these plasmids are absent. However, mitochondria and chloroplast are autonomous with its own genetic material. Cytoskeleton system is absent in the case of prokaryotes and it is present in the case of eukaryotes. Sexual reproduction is completely absent in the case of prokaryotes, whereas it is present in eukaryotes. Processes like transformation, conjugation, and transduction is present for the exchange of genetic material in prokaryotes, whereas it is completely absent in the case of eukaryotes, and the exchange of genetic materials occurs through sexual reproduction in eukaryotes. In prokaryotes, respiration is by mesosomes, whereas in eukaryotes, the respiration is by mitochondria. Chloroplast and mitochondria are absent in the case of prokaryotes, whereas chloroplast and mitochondria is present and both are double membrane bounded and autonomous with its own genetic material in the case of eukaryotes. In prokaryotes, photosynthesis takes place in the membrane system of cytoplasm. In eukaryotes, it takes place in chloroplast and it contains membrane stacks into lamella or stroma. Nitrogen fixing capacity is present in some forms of prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes, the nitrogen fixing capacity is completely absent. Endocytosis and phagocytosis is completely absent in the case of prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes, endocytosis and phagocytosis is present in some animal cells as a defense mechanism. Well-developed intracellular and extracellular communication system is absent in the case of prokaryotes and it is present in the case of eukaryotes and it is very developed and advanced. Cell cycle duration is about 20 to 16 minutes in the case of prokaryotes, whereas it varies in the case of eukaryotes and in the case of rapidly dividing cells, the cell cycle is around 24 hours. The regulatory mechanisms of DNA is relatively simple in prokaryotes and it is complex in eukaryotes. Transcription and translation are a continuous process and occur simultaneously in the cytoplasm of prokaryotes, whereas in eukaryotes it's a separate process. The transcription occurs in the nucleus, whereas translation occurs in the cytoplasm. So there we discussed about the difference between the prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So this session came to an end. Thank you.